everyone, we're back again with Pippy the Unbroke. We have just talked about how to adjust and get the horse ready to put the bridle on and adjust the bit properly. And now we're going to go into the next step, which is sending the horse forward with the bridle. But there's one thing we're going to do before we do that. On any unbroke or any horse that I get in for training, the first thing I like to do is test out what kind of pressure the horse responds to. So I'm going to turn Pip to the side. And we're going to go over something that is going to become extremely important during the course of your training. Whether you're working with an unbroke, you're working with a problem horse, or even working with a finished horse. One of the biggest issues that we've been working on since she's come here is getting the back muscles and getting her neck and a lot of the other muscles that are going to carry her along, which are her top line muscles or her dorsal chain of muscles along the top, to start to develop. It takes a while. But the first step in doing so is getting her to drop and lower her head and relaxing the sternomandibular muscle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the right hand is going to hold the rein. This hand doesn't really do anything. Okay, it's not pressing or putting pressure there. It's just simply keeping the rein from flying over her head. If I'm standing on the horse's left side, I'm going to use my left hand. I'm going to hold pretty close to the bit. Now again, she doesn't really understand or know a lot about pressure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the bit in an upward motion. She might respond in 6 different directions. So here's her options. She can raise her head, she can lower her head, she can go left or right, okay? And in some cases they start to move their feet as well. And if she does do that, then just follow along with her. But the second that they drop their head, release the pressure. All right, now my goal is I'm going to pick up this rein again and I'm going to apply pressure. And you can see she's mouthing the bit and playing with the bit. I never care about that in the beginning because I truly believe that a horse needs time to understand and accept pressure. Okay, one of the things that is really important when you're starting to work with a horse is you have to teach a horse to meet your pressure, to match your pressure, and then one of the biggest aspects is to teach them to melt away. What Pip is learning right now is about contact, okay? And contact is she feels me and I feel her. Because once I start to ride her, I want to fully understand and I want her to understand before I put my butt in that saddle, I want to make sure that I can apply pressure, okay? Because that's going to save me. If Pip gets scared or she bolts forward or she spooks, I want to make sure that I can apply pressure to teach her what to do correctly. And that's one of the things that we're getting her used to right now. And you can see she's starting to stretch her head and her neck out and she's starting to lower her head. I'm going to come to the other side. And again, I would work on this for days. This isn't something that I would just do once and then not revisit it again. I'm going to revisit this multiple times during her training. It's going to be part of our warm-up and part of the thing that we do for the most part when we're getting ready and prep for riding. So I'm going to add pressure, like I said, upward. I have my knuckles kind of pressed into her cheek so that she doesn't take her head and fling it this way. Again, I don't want to get hit in the face with her head. Girl, I'm going to come forward a little bit so you can see us. Come on, Pip. And I'm going to turn her to the side so you can more so see my hand. A lot of times clients will look at me in the beginning and go, I am pulling up and my horse isn't responding to that pressure. Okay, you want to make sure that your hand is going in a direction where you would be in the saddle because no cue helps on the ground to apply up under saddle if it doesn't make sense down here. Okay, so of course you can get your horse's head to drop if you pull down like this, but that's not going to help you up here because you can't physically do that with your hand. Right, so I want to make sure when I'm riding, in the end, this is going to be where my hands are. Okay, so if I add upward pressure, that Pip is going to respond by dropping her head down, not raising her head, which is natural. If I can get that pressure to start to happen, then what's going to happen with her neck muscles, which is more important here. Turn to the side, Pip. Okay, we've got the sternomandibular muscle down here. This is the muscle that attaches into the mandible. And on a lot of horses, this is really overdeveloped. When Pippy first came, it was very overdeveloped because all she did was run around with her head up in the air because she was always afraid of everything. So what I want to do is teach her to reverse that and teach her to relax that neck muscle. Okay, sometimes you'll feel the horse kind of sit in neutral. So something's caught her attention out in the field, and now she's not listening or focusing on me. So what I'm going to do is you can see me gently rocking her back and forth. Ah, good. Okay, and what that's going to do is it's going to create a little bit of flexion in her head, right here where the jawline meets. So if I have a horse that gets stuck, and again, she's just guessing back up because that makes sense to her. She feels backwards pressure. And I'm just going to follow her along until she guesses down. Right? It doesn't matter if she moves her feet. What matters is she responds to the bit pressure. Because here's the thing. With a young horse or any horse, you're going to go through the cycle of teaching them your three major aids, which are your hands, your seat, and your legs. All three of those cues are extremely important. But in the beginning, a horse can ignore your seat, and a horse can ignore your legs because they really don't know what they mean in the beginning. There's one cue that they can't ignore, and that is your hands, because a bit can make a horse move. Okay, so as time goes by and the horse starts to understand what bit pressure is, then we start to add in the movement. Okay, the movement, whenever I add my stick and ask her to step forward, which she already understands from prior exercises, if I keep a little bit of pressure lifting upward with my left hand, all Pip needs to do is start to drop her head lower in response to that pressure, so her ears are lower than what her withers would be. If her ears are lower than what her withers would be, you can see how this muscle starts to get like jello and it starts to wiggle. The trapezius muscle up here, which is the most important part, will not start to develop until the head and neck is lower. Once the head and neck is lower, then we can get into the back muscle. And that becomes extremely important, especially with a young horse, because I want to develop her physique now. I don't want to wait until she's older. I want her to start and fully understand that she's got to use her back in order to travel, so that her hind feet can come up underneath of her body and she can travel correctly. So she's not putting a lot of compression or a lot of compounding on the joints of her hind legs that she doesn't need to be. So as we progress, like I said, I'll keep asking her to lower her head, and I'll gently walk backwards like this because she already knows that she has to walk along with me. And if she slows down, I'll add my stick to tell her to speed up. So we're already starting to introduce contact with the bridle and forward. Contact and lower and forward. Good girl. Contact, lower, and forward. Okay, so I would do that on both sides again, and that would be something I would use in my warm-up all the time with Pip. And whenever she learns or tries to pull through pressure by using her head and neck, I'm going to immediately apply that pressure and ask her to go down instead of pulling through my head. So that's one way that we're going to start the phase of her exercise where she's actually understanding contact. Now again, I wouldn't climb up there until that's really good. So when I know that I can apply a lot of pressure here, just in case I were to panic or she were to panic, I want the answer for her to be drop her head instead of raise it. That's when I know I kind of have a green light to start climbing up there and asking for other things. So make sure that you work on that with your horses. That works for horses of any age. It's a fantastic exercise, and it's the basis for everything that I teach. So once again, I'm Tara Jones, and this is Pippy, and thank you for watching.